Hello, 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 everyone. This is Diamond J with Beyond the Glitter with Alex Williams as my guest. I am just going to allow a few people to come in so that you can actually hear the beginning of the show. So we're just going to wait a few more minutes so that we can have Facebook and stuff do their thing so they can make sure that they're live and all of that. So I just want to make sure we do that.
Now you know you can say I'm your brother, right? You hear me?
Yes, we do know that.
You know you can.
We're
You
gonna
know
get
you
to
can
that.
say I'm your brother. I'm the older brother. You can say
Yeah,
that.
we're
You
gonna
know,
get to that.
Alex. We're
We're gonna get
we're
to it.
we're here with Alex. We're here with Alex Williams. You know.
Yeah, yes, we're gonna get to it. But I gotta let people join first. I don't want them to miss
Well, you gotta
nothing.
let them join. Well, don't miss nothing.
So Ellie says, "Hi, Mama." Can you see Ellie's comment?
Where?
Say hi, Mama, and hi, Uncle. Let me see. I can do it like that. There you go.
Yeah,
You see
now
it
I
on the
see it
screen?
on your side.
Okay. Okay.
I still got. I still got a picture of you in the corner.
Yeah, that's gonna stay there.
Oh, look at you. Oh, that's gonna stay there.
All right. Thank you guys for showing up. I want to thank you guys for showing up with Diamond J Beyond the Glitter. Beyond the Glitter with Diamond J. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited. We have my brother. He wants me to make sure y'all let y'all know that this is my brother. My brother. Okay. He
Yes,
wants me to let
your
y'all know
older
that
brother.
he is my brother, my oldest brother. So I want to make sure
Yes.
that y'all know that. This is my oldest brother, Alex Lee, right? Okay. So we wanted to kind of let you know what the show is all about and how it came about. How did we came about the show? So I kind of want you to tell how that came about. But before we do, I'm going to introduce you as Alex Williams, my oldest brother, my oldest brother, who is 51 years old. He has 11 kids, right? Did I get that
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yep.
11 kids. My other brother is trailing behind. He's trailing
Yeah.
behind with like 8 or 9. So I'm not really sure. But he's running close. And I just have one. So,
But all of mine are grown except for one.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of them are
Okay.
grown except for one.
He is from Bear Creek. If anybody know where Bear Creek is, it's a part of an addition of Irving, Texas. So if you know anything about Irving, Texas, then you know that our family has been the roots of Irving, Texas. So if you know a part of Irving, Texas, Bear Creek, if you know that little addition, we all have our name. We all name our street names are named after our family. So if you didn't know that little piece of history, that's the piece of history that we have. If you go down there to the trace system, you will actually see our whole family. Actually, their names are dedicated in that trace system, and they're all printed there. So
Embedded in the stones.
they are embedded in the stone. I
Yep, they're
mean,
embedded in the stones.
our whole family is the pioneers of that location. It's,
And they also have the museum. They also have the museum
yeah,
for our family right there. Yeah.
and Jackie Tom and Jackie's museum. Right, right.
Jackie
Okay.
Ray. Yep.
He loves to travel. As you can see, he's the life of the party. He just be talking. He just be talking. So as you can see, he is the life of the party. And I really wanted to explain to you guys how I came up with the show Beyond the Glitter with Diamond J. The way I came up with the show, I contacted him And I said, "Hey, brother, how you doing? I wanted to check and see how he was doing." And he said something like, "Well, I'm doing fine." And we were talking about what I should be doing because I'm no longer working. So he was like, "Well, you should be using you should be speaking because that's what you are. You're a speaker." And I said, I don't know about that, but okay, what have you. And so he says, "You have an audience." And for those of you that know, I have 20,000 followers. And he said, "That's your audience. You have 20,000 ears." And so he said, "I'll be your guest, but I want to let him tell why he said that." Do you remember why you said that?
Well, so you were really the reason that I got back on track, you know, because I was in another world. I was in another
Let
state,
me,
state of
yeah,
mind, you
let
know.
me, let me explain to the audience what that means. So he was in a state, he was in a mental, he wasn't in a good mental space. Okay. He was talking about suicide thoughts.
Suicide.
He was talking
You can
about
go ahead
letting
and say it.
himself go. He
Yep.
didn't want to live anymore. He didn't want to live. And I would call him every other day or so. I didn't want to call every day and bug him, but I would call and say, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Are you okay?" And this is when we had this conversation, but go ahead, take it from there.
Well, so I remember what she said to me. We were texting back and forth, and she was talking about faith. Well, I didn't have any faith. Me and God were on two different levels at this point in time, you know. And she said to me that she's going to carry my faith for me until I get it back, you know. And really, I didn't get it at first, but I sat back and I thought about what she said. And because she said that, you know, she believed in me. That was one person that supported me. That just, hey, I'm gonna hold on to your faith because God is gonna be the way. You have to. So until you get your faith back, I'm gonna carry that burden for you. I'm gonna carry your faith for you. And when she said that to me, I'm just like, man, you're right. You know, and that got me to change my way of thinking. You know, uh, I know that I'm not always, everybody. You're not always going to be on the same eye to eye level with God. Everybody has their own level of spirituality and their relationship with God. But at the same time, with me, and everything that I say is my opinion. It's just my opinion. This is just me. And so I don't know how to really explain it, but one thing, it overcame me that, I'm always the person that always talks to everybody. I've always been a motivational person. I'm always happy around people. And for me to be in a state that I was in, and my younger sister, sorry about that, my younger sister, says something that pulls me out of that state or helps pull me out of that state. There are many more people that helped me get out of there. For example, my wife, she helped me get out of there, also. But my sister was the one that just, made me sit back and think, and it just grabbed hold of me. And I was just like, I'm not only going to be disappointing, my family and friends, I'm disappointing myself, and then I'm being a disappointment to God because, hey, I'm willing to take my life because, hey, I just didn't want to be here anymore, and the fact that I've always been able to talk. I've always been able to talk about stuff, I don't care, I could care less about what people think, there's 8 billion people in this world. I could care less if 600, 700, 1,000 people don't like me. Go ahead. I don't care, but that's how it came about, and that's how, I told her, your audience, if you got 20,000 followers, your 20,000 turns into 40,000. Your 40,000 turns into 80. You have the audience because you have a gift and you're supposed to use that gift. God gave you a gift for a reason and you're supposed to use it. You know, I use mine all the time. That's why I'm always talking. But anyway,
and that's good. I'm so glad that we had that conversation because, I have shared on here my mental state as well, that I had attempted suicide. I think we've also shared with my daughter at the time that we have attempted suicide. So it is not that we haven't had these conversations. I think that's why people kind of listen to us, because we are able to share some of the things that people are scared to share and talk about. So we are able to talk about some of those things. And it doesn't mean that just because you're not able to talk about those things doesn't mean anything. It just means that this is our gift and this is what God has called us to do. And we're helping people along the way. There are so many people that have contacted me with my shows or YouTube videos that we've done with Eliana or whoever, that have said, you know what, you have helped me come out of this. You have helped me when my husband died. I remember a lady contacted me and said, you have helped me when my husband died. And I'm like, how did I do that? I don't even know, anything about that, so that is that we are changing lives, right? So, and I called him, I didn't know, and he was like, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't want to live anymore. And I said, I will carry the faith, I don't want you to die. He told me, and I said this to him, and I said, you know what, you told me about the audience, I want you to be my first guest. I want you to be my first guest, because if you don't attempt the suicide, I'm going to put you on the show. I'm going to let you be my first guest. And he called me, y'all. He called me at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, when are you going to be on the show? I said, what? I said, oh, you just wait. I'm going to put it together. Because you said that you're not going to attempt the suicide, then I'm going to put you on the show. So that's where we got that from. That's how we started Beyond the Glitter. And those are the things that I want to talk about. Those are the things that I want to get into. Can you share a personal story about your journey and how it shaped you, and how it shaped you to be who you are? Because it seems like, except for my little brother, because he'll tell you, I ain't killing myself. I ain't doing none of that. So except for my little brother. Except for my little brother, but it seems like, we have some things that run in the family. So can you share a personal story that kind of has shaped you?
Well, I tried to commit suicide 3 times in my life. 3 times. My freshman year in college, my first cousin killed my 3-year-old brother. Killed my 3-year-old brother. And that sent my mother on the downward spiral. And he was out of there, And so I was in college. I was in my dorm room, and I just didn't, because me and my mother didn't have she raised me, but she didn't raise me. My grandmother raised me, but my mother's always kept tabs on me. But I was in my dorm room after my brother had died, and I had 120 Xanax. And if you know about Xanax, I had 120 of them. I took a whole gallon of water, and I just started scraping them in my hand, putting them in my mouth, swallowing, putting them in my mouth, swallowing. About 3 minutes later, after I finished, I laid down. I laid there for about 5 minutes, and something told me to get up. Something literally told me to get up. And so when I got up, I fell. I couldn't walk. I couldn't, as soon as I got up, I fell. I hit my desk in my dorm room. My phone fell down and my Bible fell down right by me. I called my grandmother. And when I called my grandmother, I told her what I did. She called my mother. My mother was an evangelist. My dad, my stepdad, it was a preacher. Or he's a Masonic. I got to get that right. He's a Masonic. Yeah. And so I'm in Durant, Oklahoma. They're on their way down there. When they got there, my mother sat there and she just looked at me. She said, Joseph, because that's my real name, Joseph. She said, Joseph, God told me to tell you something. He told me to tell you that no matter how many times you try and commit suicide, it's not going to work. I tried 2 more times after that. And as you can see, I'm still here. You know, so that, you know, just growing up the way that I did, you know, the family, my last name is Williams. I'm supposed to be a Jones. But my mother, you know, had an affair with my dad, you know, on my brother's dad. I know it's confusing, but still. And my mother ended up giving me to that side of the family. Well, they already knew that I wasn't their child. You know, I wasn't my brother's dad's child, but yet you gave me to that family.
Right.
That family raised me. Well, my grandmother raised me.
Right.
You know, I was a little ugly duckling or the black sheep of the family. I always got in trouble. You know, I got in trouble every day, you know, but I used to get whipped with extension cords, you know, sliced up water hose, a willow tree switch, you know, a spatula.
Yeah.
Whatever they could grab, I would get beat with. And I always got beat, you know, by everybody in that family,
right.
You know. And so I always wanted to stay gone. So, you know, I played football, basketball, track, choir, you know, gymnastics. I did everything in my power to stay away from that house because I knew when I got home, I would be the last person to eat. And if there wasn't any food, I wouldn't eat. You know, I couldn't make anything, you know. So everything for me, you know, I stayed gone, you know. And so when I was 16, you know, my cousin, Craig, was, well, my brother's dad, Leonard,
Yes.
was sitting there with his girlfriend. And we were watching, it was on Thanksgiving, and we were watching the Cowboy game. And while we were watching the Cowboy game, I got up to go use the restroom. And when I got up to go use the restroom, Leonard, my brother's dad, told my cousin to kick me in the nuts, you know, out of nowhere. And everybody was in the house, you know. And I looked at my cousin, I said, don't you do that, because if you do, I'm gonna slam you up against that wall. You know, I'm gonna put your ass in that wall, you know. And he told you know, my brother's dad said, I just called my stepdad. My stepdad said, no, he ain't gonna do nothing, because if he do, I'll whoop his ass. And I turned around and he kicked me dead in the nuts. And I picked him up and I slammed him up against that wall. His mother, my aunt, came out of the house, came out of her room, walked into the living room, and she said, Chubby, what you doing up in here? And I'm looking like, you know, every time something happens, y'all point the finger at me, you know? And so I'm like, it's his fault, you know? He kicked me in the nuts. And then I looked over at my stepdad. As soon as I turned back around, my aunt just slapped the shit out of me. I mean, she slapped me. And when she slapped me, my arm just went swinging. I mean, I broke 2 of her ribs, you know? And she got up and she went into the kitchen. She got a butcher knife. By that time, I'm heading toward the door. And she said, like, where do you think you going? I said, I'm getting the fuck away from y'all. That's what I'm doing, you know? And so I went across the street. Once I got across the street, my Uncle Bebe came in. When he came in, he had a shotgun. I'm across the street. We had some bay windows, and I'm across the street at our neighbor's house, Pete, you know, and looking at my uncle. The only thing he was doing, he was sitting in that chair with that shotgun, and he was just patting it, looking straight at me, just patting it. And so my grandmother got home, and she told my cousin to come over there and get me. Ain't nobody gonna mess with me. I'm 16 years old now. And so I go back over to the house. I walk in her room. I closed the door, and she said, now tell me what happened. I told her what happened. And she said, you know, you broke 2 of your aunt's ribs. I said, I'm sorry. But I didn't, you know, she slapped me, you know, and that was just a reaction. She said, well, don't you think you should apologize? I said, no, I didn't do anything. You know, They started all that. And she said, well, okay, well, go on in there and sit down. Ain't nobody gonna mess with you. Went in there and I sat back down. Emmitt Smith was running the ball, y'all. What was it Tony Dorsett? 1 or 2. But they were running the ball. And he got hit in the ribs. And I'm sitting right next to my cousin. And he looked at me and he said, hey, Chubby, you want some ribs? And I looked at him and I said, man, why are you doing that? Don't do that. And then my stepdad looked at me and said, I know one thing. You ever put your hands on my sister again, I'm going to whoop your ass. You hear me, boy? And I was just like, you know what? Only person that's ever going to be able to put their hands on me and not get hit back is my grandmother. Oh, you think you bad. So he stood up and my older brother was sitting down in the chair. And I'm sitting down. He gets up with his little brim hat on, trying to impress his little girlfriend, you know. And he just saw, well, you think you bad, get up. And I look at my brother, and my brother looks at me, and he started shaking his head. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. And I just started smiling. I said, man, come on now. You standing right over me, that means you want me to be inferior to you? You trying to dominate me? No. And he said, you think you bad, get up. I looked at my brother again. He said, don't you do it, man. I stood up. When I stood up, oh, you think you bad. He took a swing at me. I ducked. I drug him all the way to the front door. My grandmother runs into the living room, and I have him pinned down. He's scratching me all on the neck. And my grandmother was like, Lenachi, don't you hurt that boy. And I look at my grandmother, and I said, Granny, I'm on top of him, you know. And then my uncle comes in. This big old man. He big. He was big. And so my uncle comes in and he says, oh, Lenachi, if you don't whoop his ass, I am. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm finna have to fight everybody in the house, you know. And so he told me after a while, he just, 16. I was 16 years old. Yeah. And so once he did that, you know, he finally was just like, you can let me up. You know, I ain't gonna do nothing. I said, well, if you do, cause I'm punching this time, you know. And so I got up and I called my mother and I said, Mama, can you come pick me up? Because these people over here trying to fight me. They ganging up on me. And so she on her way to pick me up. Well, I'm walking outside the door and my uncle said, where you think you're going? Oh, you got to handle me now. I said, man, if you want to fight me, come on outside, you know. And there was this big old 2x4, you know, on the sidewalk. I went and I grabbed that 2x4. And when he came outside, oh, what you think you're going to do with that? Man, I ain't finna let you beat me like this. You know, ain't no way. I ain't scared of you. But he started charging me. I turned to the side and I hit him with that 2x4 right across his sternum. And that man went down on one knee. It's almost like he was just breathing. He was just breathing, just catching his breath. I know it hurt because I broke it, you know. And about 10, 15 seconds later, he stood up and I took off running. I ran around the block and I'm like, what are you running for? And so I turned back around. I started walking back. When I got back to the house, my stepdad walks out the door and he takes that shotgun, he cocks that shotgun, he points that shotgun right at me. And by that time, my mother had pulled up. And my mother got out that car. She had a 45. And, you know, excuse me when I say this, she pointed that 45 at him and said, nigga, I'll shoot you dead if you think you finna shoot my son. And about that time, about 15 cops just started swarming the house. And so, you know.
So you do know that, hold on just a second. You do know that these things happen in families. And this is why there's so many things that are going on with mental illnesses, mental things that are going on. Can you imagine being 16 years old, having a gun being pulled on you, and all this chaos is going on? So many people are dealing with this chaos. So many people are dealing with all these things that are going on in their families, and then they have no outlet to have someone to talk to.
And I never, you know, I talk a lot, you know, but I always, you know, I'm always going to be the life of the party. I always want to make people smile. I've always been that way. You know, I'll be the clown just so you can be happy, you know, right. And I don't mind doing that because that doesn't, you know, whatever, again, I could care less about what people think about me. You know, I ain't trying to impress nobody. I'm just gonna be me. You know, if you don't like me, you don't have to be around me. You know, as long as you don't put your hands on me, I don't care what you say. You can say anything. You know.
Let me ask you this question. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice from your story, what would that advice be to yourself?
Speak up sooner.
Meaning
that when those events happen, not talking to somebody at, you know, even at that age, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm trying to figure out what's going on inside of me, you know, and why these things keep happening to me, you know. And so it's very confusing because it's just almost like, hey, are you the burden? You know, was I a burden to everybody? You know, because they didn't really want me there.
Exactly, because you were somebody else's child.
Yeah, and so I don't know that. I don't, you know, so I don't know. I didn't know how to deal with my feelings at that time. I didn't know what my feelings were. I didn't know how I really felt. You know, I didn't have an understanding of that. I didn't go to no counselor. I didn't get, you know, didn't have money to go to no counselor or psychiatrist or whatever. I didn't have money for that, you know. So I had to deal with it myself. Nobody talked to me. I mean, nobody at all talked to me. They didn't talk to me about the situation that happened. They didn't say anything about it. They just let me go on, you know, and I know it festered inside me. I know that. But as I got older, and it took me till 40 years old, it took me till I was 40 years old, till I realized that, hey, you know what? You know, everybody tells you that you know, you give good advice, that you can talk and you change their lives or whatever, you know. Well, if I'm the one that's talking, why can't I talk about me?
Right.
Why can't I let what's inside of me out? Because if I'm speaking to someone else and they get it, they connect with it, because I'm speaking to them on their level. I'm not speaking to them like they're some psychiatrist or a doctor giving you all these terms you don't understand. I'm speaking to you on a level that you understand it, you know. And I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now. So that's what I would give I would talk sooner versus later.
Okay. What are some daily challenges you face due to mental awareness? How do you navigate through those obstacles that you have? How are you able to do those? How do you manage it?
Well, manage it day by day. But I always know that there's always going to be hard days, and there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, you know. Just like it's going to, you know, it can't rain all the time. The sun has to shine sooner or later, you know. And so on a daily basis, which I don't sleep a lot anyway, so it really doesn't matter, you know, but on a daily basis, I have to look at myself in the mirror, you know, and know and tell myself, you are wanted, you are loved, you are a good person. But I have to tell myself that every day. You know why? I tell myself that because everybody in my family, my friends, everybody, you know, they believe in me. I didn't believe in myself.
Right.
You know, I put off a persona that I believe in myself, but I didn't on the inside because I didn't really want to talk to anybody, you know. When my wife, we're getting a divorce because of that, you know, that put me in a spiral, you know. And I just, you know, I wanted my daughter, you know, I got a 9-year-old daughter now, you know. I asked for this. And nothing will ever work in your life if you're not true to yourself. You got to be true to yourself, and you got to look from the outside of the box in instead of the inside of the box out. Because when you're in the box, you got 4 walls. You can only look up. You don't know what's around you.
Right.
But when you're on the outside of the box, you can look what's around you. You can look up, and you can also look down what's in that box. change it. You have to change the way that you think about not only yourself, but change the way you think about people. I don't care what people do. You do what you do, you know. But for me, I know that I have to speak out now, and I'm always good on stage. I've never done anything like this before, but the fact that I can talk to everybody else, you know, it helps me because I'm not only talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself too. And it's giving me
Right.
the opportunity to heal myself by talking about it. You know, can't be
Right.
ashamed of it.
So the last question is, what would you tell someone? It was a little bit different from the other question, but we have a lot of people that have suicidal thoughts. You know, I have had them. My daughter's had them. It seems like, except for my little brother, right? I don't know what's going on with him, but it seems
Yeah.
like we all have these issues. And I remember my mom talking about it, about our dad and how he had some issues, and he would check himself in to the mental hospital. But a lot of people don't know how, when you're in relationships with people that have suicidal thoughts, how do you handle those people? How should somebody handle it? And the other question is, what would you tell somebody that is attempting or thinking about doing suicidal thoughts? What would you tell them?
Well, if you're having suicidal thoughts, first of all, figure out why. Why are you having suicidal thoughts? You know, is it something that happened in your past? Is it something that you've held in so long that you just refuse to let out or speak to anybody about? You know, when you speak to people or speak out loud, you take away the energy. You take away the power that whatever it is that you're thinking of doing bad to
Mhm.
yourself. If you're thinking of committing suicide, speak it out. Let it go. Let somebody help you, because right now you don't know. You're still trying to figure it out, and you're going through the motions like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna do it. You start getting quiet. You don't talk to nobody. You have to talk about it. And some people may think it's embarrassing. It's not embarrassing. I've always said, you show me a sane person, I'll show you an insane person.
Right.
Because what it is, we're all insane. We're all sane. To what level? You have to figure that out for yourself. What level do you
Yeah.
want to be on? Where do you want to be? Don't worry about the small stuff. Everything in this world is small compared to the big picture. We're only here for
Right.
a short time. So my advice would be, talk about it.
Okay.
If you can't talk to a family member, if you can't talk to a friend. Go talk to somebody. Go talk to a stranger that you just meet. Well, hey, if they want to have a conversation, let's have a conversation. Then you just let it out, because you know what? 9 times out of 10, you may never see that person again. So who cares about what they think?
Right.
Just let it out. Just speak on it. You have to.
I think that's one of the hardest things that people that deal with any kind of mental, space that they're in, um, or obstacles that they're going through. I think that we always don't want anybody to know our business. That's the number one thing. Oh, I don't need nobody in my business. I don't want nobody to know what I'm going through. I don't want to talk about it. So you, the person that is actually going through the thing, you have to find a way to be able to open up, because that's the one piece, because all the other people are going to say, when I really dislike when they say this, hey, I'm here if you need me. No, I just absolute. Everybody thinks they're lending a helping hand when they say that. It is the absolute worst. No, I
It's
need
totally
I
opposite.
need somebody. I need somebody. If you know that I'm going through something, show up for me. Show up.
Hmm.
Whether I don't know if people have seen it online or not, whether it's laying down in the rain and we're just laying there, just show up. Don't say, hey, just call me if you need me, because we're not calling. We're not going to call you. We're not.
Mm-mm.
People are
We're in
not
a
going
different
to
state.
call you. We're not going to call you when you've got some issues. And that is the worst thing. That is the number one thing that I just absolutely dislike, when people say, hey, I'm here for you if you need me. No. What is it that they need? Whether it's say, hey, let me take you out, let me go shopping with you, let's go have a drink, let's get out. You got to show up for that person. And that's exactly what I did with my brother. I showed up for him. I didn't say, hey, call me if you need me, because I knew he wasn't going to call. He wasn't going to call
Darn
me.
right.
Until that time, he called at 6 o'clock in the morning, talking about I'm ready to be on the show. I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. We're ready. But they're not going to call. So stop saying that. I mean, if
Yeah.
you could just leave the broadcast with anything, is when somebody's going through mental health issues, stop saying, call me if you need me. Don't do that.
Just show up.
You're not calling.
Just show up. Yeah, you just show up.
Just
Yep.
show up.
You know, because
I remember my friend. I can't remember exactly what was happening, but I had some issues, and you know what? I didn't ask the girl to come. She said, "Hey, I got some caldo, some food that she had cooked," and she said, "I'm bringing it over to your house." Thank you.
okay.
You know, I didn't ask her. She didn't say, "Hey, you want me to cook you something?" No, she just brought it. So next time, just show up for your person that you love, the person that you care about, the person that you have. Are there any questions that you have for Alex? Is there any questions that you would like to know about him? Anything that you want to ask him? Anything? She says, Eliana says, right, make the first step and show you care. 9 out of 10, they will not reach out, and they are fear that you are a burden. I mean, they feel that they are a burden.
They're a burden.
So pretty much we feel
Yeah.
like we are burdened. So we're not going to say, oh, you know, but you have to show up. And this is where you find out who's really there for
Who's
you.
your friend? Well, this is where you find out who's your friend. Yeah.
That's right.
This is when you find out, because you're a true friend. A true friend, if you're wrong, and they're gonna let you know about it. They're gonna tell you that you're wrong. They're not gonna sit there and just accept it because because you're their friend, and you don't want to get on their bad side. No, their friend doesn't care, because he's your friend. He's gonna tell you if you're doing something wrong. He's gonna tell you when you're doing something stupid. He's gonna tell you all of that. So if they weren't your friend, hey, you do what you do. You go ahead. They don't care about you. They don't care what happens to you.
Right.
So if you're gonna be a true friend, just show up to them. Or just bring them some. Because they're not eating, they're not drinking, they're not doing anything. They're not watching television. They are not. They're sitting there and they're pondering and planning to get rid of themselves, to off themselves. They really are planning that. They don't know when or how. It's just going to be that one day. You know how, when the straw that broke the camel's back, it's just when somebody gets angry, they have all this stuff built up inside. And it's just that one person that says something that just ticked them off and get the butt kicked, and they go off on them. It's just that one person. And it wasn't that person's fault. It was your fault because you held everything in, but you just decided to take it out on that person right there because he was the closest one. He was the next person that said something to you. You can't do that to people, So talk about it. If you're afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Our therapist, Eliana, she's going to school for psychology. So she says, what are some techniques that people who battle suicidal thoughts can use? What are some of the techniques other than speaking up? What are some of the techniques, like healthy coping mechanisms?
Well, so for me, again, it's me looking at myself in the mirror. It's reassuring myself. It's giving myself confidence. It's allowing me to look at me in the mirror, because the only person I'm going to see is me.
Right.
So who are you? Who am I looking at? Who are you in that mirror? Were you raised that way? Have you ever thought that way? No. So why are you doing it now? Behind what? There is nothing in this world that is worth you dying, killing yourself. Nothing in this world is worth that. You know, and so you're taking the coward way out. So for me, it's looking at myself in the mirror. For others, it may also be writing something down, writing positive affirmations down. Write them down, stick them on the mirror, because you're going to look in the mirror every morning. So when you look in the mirror, you look at the positive. You know, I guarantee you there's more positive than there are negative, regardless of how you look at it. Right. And there's always going to be more good than bad. So those are two things that, you know, for me, it's the mirror. For someone else, it could be just writing it down and putting it on the mirror.
Okay. Eliana says she was just talking about this. Holly says, so true. You know, I think this is a really good topic. I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I'm so glad, brother, that you are still here with us. I absolutely love you. And thank you so much for encouraging me to step out of my comfort zone, encouraging me to step out and do the show, right? Because I have some issues too. I have my own issues. I have my things that I, you know, don't think that I can do certain things, you know. And my brother was one that was able to encourage me. So I'm so glad that you are here. James Valentine says, glad that you are still here, brother. So we thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So Eliana says, glad you're pushing through, Uncle. We love you. I'm so proud of both of you. Holly says, thank you for getting him out of his dark place. That's your ex-wife? Well,
Holly, soon to be ex-wife. But she helped me. Hey, she's helped me through all of this, you know, and it's
absolutely.
We're in a good place. You know, even though I don't like the place that we're in,
right?
You know, of what's going on with us, but we're still in a good place, you know. And but she's helped a lot. She really has, you know.
That's awesome.
Keeps me on my toes still.
Yes, she's gonna stay on your toes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so glad that we are here. I'm so glad your daughter says, love you, Pops. Glad to see you smiling. Your family is here, so that you'll know that we're all here for you, right? I mean, Holly's here, Lindsay's here, I'm here, Eliana's here. We're all here. Holly says, I love you both. We're definitely in a good place. So this is a good thing, right? I'm so happy.
Always is.
So I'm going to end the show. I thank you so much for joining. I thank you guys for joining in. We try to keep it to 30 minutes, but you know, my brother can talk a little bit. So that's just what it is. We don't care because he is still here, right? So we will allow him to talk as much as he wants to talk. But yes, we want to thank you guys for showing up. Thank you so much, family, for showing up. Thank you so much, James. James is Eliana's godfather. So I thank James for showing up as well, you know, showing up and supporting us as we go through this journey. I really appreciate it. And Holly says, I'll listen to him anytime. Holly still So awesome. So I'm glad that we had this conversation. For you guys, Diamond, Beyond the Glitter with Diamond J is going to continue. This was just the first interview. Actually, Trishana loves to say that she had the first interview because we were actually trying this StreamYard out. So we were trying to practice, but technically this is the first official interview that we had. And so I'm so glad that we had this. If you or anyone else that wants to join the show, just inbox me at leaderandhills@gmail.com, or you can contact me on my Facebook page, Diamond J. So I look forward to doing other interviews like this. If you're interested, give me a call, let me know. Tonight has been a successful night. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
See y'all later.
Bye.